influence. And it's still in the very early stages of its evolution in general. Then purity of the female, if the female didn't change it. God, it doesn't matter. Yeah, purity if the female, of the female. Just like Christianity, like I said, the Virgin Mary is a huge icon in the Quran. It's mentioned way more times in the Quran than the Bible. It's this massive figure and character, and it's one of the only women that's ever named in the Quran as well. So that's a huge thing to be a virgin, just like she was. Everyone tries to mirror the Bible and follow it as closely as you can. Same with the women. Consummation of marriage was watched over by 4 people, so it was a huge thing. Like if the hymen didn't break, you were killed. So you'd bring your newly found wife into a tent and you'd go have sex, and they wouldn't watch the foreplay or anything. They'd literally stand there and watch penis entering vagina, and if there was blood, it was all happy. They'd leave and let leave into her. If there wasn't any blood, they'd kill her on the spot. That was it. It was like, oh, is there no blood? We'll stab you to death. Now there's blood. Closely tied with family honour. Again, these came from a lot of shame societies, like I was mentioned before. So if they were cast off as these beautiful women who were all virgins, and the families came together, they could share land, share gold or silver, whatever they used back then. And if not, obviously it was an awful thing. No form of sexual contact whatsoever, including masturbation. It was seen in a Islamic part where basically it wasn't just actual intercourse that was taking your virginity. It was masturbation and orgasms as well. That was a huge thing. If you orgasmed, that was your virginity gone. That was it. Which I don't know how they could tell that. I don't know. I couldn't really get into that one. A loss of virginity before marriage can lead to execution, even if they're raped. It's very much like the Christianity side of it as well. It was just horrible back then. If you were raped, no matter what happened in Islam, if you were raped, you were pretty much always killed. If people found out, you were taken out and either beheaded, public burnings, or stoning to death. Now we go to now, and you can see how much Christianity has evolved in comparison to Islam in this aspect, whereas it's pretty much quite similarly the same. So nobody watches over the consummation this time, because it's become a lot more private. Everyone's got a lot more privacy in their lives, so no one stands there and waits for someone to bleed and that type of thing. Family honour is still a high thing in families, especially Indian and Pakistani families. They have a huge thing with honour and bringing shame upon the family name. No form of sexual contact whatsoever, that's still upheld. No masturbation, no sexual intercourse with yourself or others. And a loss of virginity before marriage is sinful and forbidden, which it always has been, but in the Western society we see it more as merely frowned upon rather than cast out and killed, although still in Eastern countries up until 2014 it is still done. People are still beheaded and burnt and stoned to death. So moving on just a touch, just a tad. Our model culture, now we've got through all the religious stuff and all the bad things, how we perceive it as today. So everyone will know pretty much about what I'm going to say, because I was talking about no sex before marriage and that type of thing. I grew up in a Catholic primary school and a Catholic school and a Catholic church with a Catholic family, and it was all rammed down my throat that virginity was this huge thing. It wasn't this little thing in your teenage, like in your teens. It was this massive moment, this one night in your moment where you spend it with the right person at the right time when you know that you're ready and that type of thing. And I always found that was just wrong. It was so much pressure for one person to have, while you've got all the school shoving it down your throats, you've got the church shoving it down your throats, your family shoving it down your throats. No one to turn to because everyone's saying the exact same things. But when I lost at 13, they didn't. It's cut off a bit. Can you see it? Yeah, average age of virginity loss by region, just a few numbers and facts here. The age is the highest, they lose at around 20, 21, 22. And Europe down there were 18.5. I actually thought it'd be lower than that, because a lot of my friends in school lost it around 15, 16-ish, maybe 17. But yeah, there's the facts and figures. Can't complain with them. And then I really wanted to get, rather than just numbers and statistics, I wanted to get maybe a personal touch and see what people actually say. So I hunted on Yahoo Answers and all sorts. What are the main reasons that everyone always says not to have sex? Your friends are doing it. Don't do it because your friends are doing it. Don't because you're pressured into it, or if you think it's going to make you stronger as a couple. It seems very typecast that these are all the same answers I could find. I went through about 100 different ones and they were all the same stuff. I fully agree with being pressured into it, because that is the main reason why I'm up here, is that being pressured into it is a horrible thing, being forced to have sex like that. Okay. Now the numbers are a bit odd, because I found the boys and girls on a bit weird, but 42% of boys between 15 and 17 feel pressured into sex, and only 26% of girls do. Don't know whether you use a stronger will, woman power and stuff, or someone just typed it in wrong. But either way, that's a bit odd. And then I also agree with the boys, because we chatter a lot, and when we get into school, the one thing you talk about when you're 15 and 16 is like, who you banging, blah, blah. It was a huge thing. I don't know whether it was just city schools like Liverpool, but people I've talked to as well outside, it was a huge thing as boys growing up. As soon as you 62% of parents have not had the birds and the bees talk. I didn't have it. I don't know if anyone else, just by a show of nods or... No one had it. No, I don't know pretty much anyone that had it. My mum probably had it when she was a kid, but I didn't get told it at all. I learned when I was like in school, either through sex ed classes or on the yard talk. Which means that 52% of young people, again 15 to 17, would like more information on how to have sex. Not about sex. We understand that penis enters the vagina, that type of thing. Ejaculation, fertilization, all that, that's all scientific, that's fine. But actually how to have sex, like do we just put it in and stay there? Do we shake about a bit? Do we do it for 5 minutes and then turn her over? No one knew. Like no one told me how like the smell, like just the random sex smell and like the amount of like juices and stuff. No one issued to me how dirty and disgusting it was. You sort of just jump into it and like, oh, that wasn't in the book. So yeah, no one knows that. So that's half of like teenagers between 15 and 17. This is taken from America and Britain. Don't know like how to do it. They want to know how to do it. Obviously, lads will turn to porn, I knows, and as those lads know, porn is a shit example to have sex with. Like I've tried some, it doesn't work. I'm telling you right now. Jesus Christ. So 30% of females and 31% of males will not have sex due to religious reasons, which we've touched upon before, and moral reasons. Now, that's either because they're either waiting for that special someone, which basically means that they get so hyped up to them throughout life that they're waiting for the special someone, and they probably spend it with someone and regret it afterwards, which leads to these numbers, which are the fun facts. 2% of young people lost their virginity before the age of 14. That's me. And 98% of them didn't regret losing it. Now, I don't at all. I don't think it is. If anything, it's been completely the binary opposite. Whereas 91% of young people lose theirs between 16 and 22, which is about average. And then 34% of them and 27% of them regret it. They don't like it. As you can see, it's probably been hyped up so much for them that they finally lost it and like, well, maybe that wasn't the special someone, or it wasn't as good as I thought it was, or the smell was pretty bad, or anything like that. It's a huge number. So luckily I am that part of that lovely 2%. And when I lost my virginity on my 13th birthday, it wasn't my idea. I didn't just plan it or anything like that. It was spur of the moment. Anyway. Yeah, I had immeasurable worries because I was 13 years old. Like literally, it was quite horrendous the first year of being sexually active because I couldn't tell to my family because there's no way you turn to your mum at the age of 30 and say, "Mum, I'm having sex," because my feet wouldn't touch the ground. I'd be grounded. I'd become Cinderella in a second. So I couldn't tell to my family, even though my mum did have me at a very early age. She had me when she was 16, so I always thought that was encouraging. You know, my mum had me when she was 16. She was just a bit of a slag. But yeah, so. I couldn't turn to school either because in school it was the same. I was always scared if I told one of my teachers, one of your favourite teachers, like, "Miss, look, I'm having sex and I know what to do." You don't know whether she'd tell someone above and get back to you, and I'll go home and just get crap knocked out of me from my dad. So I couldn't turn that. And then my friends were 13. They run around playing with like, I don't know, PlayStation 2s, and I'm around playing with girls. And yeah, so I couldn't turn to them, and they didn't understand. It was only when one of my friends did it as well, one of my closest friends, Josh, and then we could go through this all together. But without him, I think it'd be a horrendous time. Pregnancy, right? Oh, I was 13, so you know I didn't know to put a sock on it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, let's go for it. So pregnancy scares were near enough commonplace, and it nearly put me off sex. So I thought it was commonplace. I thought it was a normal thing for just to get scared once a month. It's like, oh, I've missed my period, and I'm like, oh. And I go into school and I'd be really worried, and I couldn't turn to anyone because of it. Pregnancy was huge, and then the only way out of it was condoms. I was like, yeah, we have to get some condoms. I'm like, well, that's okay. See, the condoms like £5 a pack at 13 years old. Mum can't have 5 or 4. I don't know, you know, sweets. I like buying flavoured balloons. It was absolutely terrifying. And then when you did get the money, you'd have to go into the shop, and you're sort of looking around, and I'm looking down because they're about here. And I was like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's some cream. That's some other thing. And I was looking. You take them, and then you buy loads of things with them, so then the cashier's just flying through and doesn't look. Whereas after about a year of it, I realised like, no, it should be more of a statement. And I sort of grabbed my hair around it. I was like, take them down, like, I'm having sex. But at first it was terrifying. It took a long time to get that arc and become as confident as it is now. Which is then we got taught about in school the Brook, which is, I don't know where it comes from in different places. Brook is like a family planning clinic or a sexual health clinic for the NHS. And you go in, you get loads of free condoms and that type of thing, and STI checks and pregnancy tests and that type of thing. And I didn't think it was free, or because I was 13, I didn't think it was allowed to me. It was like 16-year-olds and above, and I was just in this little bubble of 13 to 16. Will have no help from no one. Where it wasn't. When I finally came into it, it was completely different. They were really nice because the NHS, they're just blunt with it. I found being blunt was probably the best way to deal with it. It was like, oh, so you're having sex at 13? Yeah. You wearing condoms? No. Here's some condoms. And that was it, and I just left, and that was the entire conversation. Just like, be safe, that'll be fine. And they didn't judge me, they didn't like analyse me, they didn't tell my mum, which is probably what I was most scared about. And then we had condoms, and there was no one missed periods, and oh my god, it was such a happy time. Yeah, and then it led into religion, because like I said, I grew up in a Catholic school, Catholic home, Catholic church, the whole thing, right the way up to the age of 17 in high school. I remember thinking, like, I'm going to go to hell, because obviously it's no sex before marriage. I'm having sex before marriage equals hell. That was my 13-year-old mind thinking. So went into looking at the Bible, things like that, and realised how horrible it sort of was back then when they did it, and that sort of turned me off religion in a sense, which some people consider religion, that's fine, whereas I saw it as an enlightenment. So along the lines of losing my virginity, I also was enlightened at the same time. Terms and conditions apply. You know, you might not like it, but take it as you will. And then the benefits. Number one, I was having sex. That was the best benefit of all. I was 13-year-olds going around just tapping it. It was great. I was 2 and 3 years in front of all the other guys, which is always nice to know, because like, oh, what's sex like? I'm like, wouldn't you like to know? Sit down, little boy, and I'll tell you. A bit creepy. And then when they did finally catch up about 2 or 3 years later, when they hit around 15, 16, they went through all the same problems. So they were absolutely worried as hell, and they were worried about losing the virginity. It was affecting the work, because 15 and 16, you start studying for your GCSEs. So it was this huge thing for them, and you're like, they shouldn't have that much pressure. They've got to have the pressure of all peer pressure in school anyway. Then you've got the pressure of wanting to have sex and lose your virginity, to be in with the lads, at the same time doing your GCSEs, which leads you A-levels, and if you don't get good GCSEs, you don't get good A-levels, you don't get A-levels, you don't go to university. It was huge, whereas I'm like, I lost it ages ago. I just chilled, did my essays, and just carried on as normal. My Saturday nights were great. So me and my friend became like a helping hand to friends. So when they come in, they're like, right, look, we tried doing this, and you know, it hurt, or we tried doing this, and she missed a period, and then we were like, you know, like the gurus of school, which walking around like, well, you know, I'm just the guy to turn to. So it allowed me to basically completely bypass the pressure of high school, like absolutely, the whole thing. I never had the pressure at all. I had the pressure of GCSEs, and that's it. Everyone else go around smoking weed and smoking cigarettes and getting drunk and all sorts. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And everyone else is trying to lose the virginity. Like, no, we did that 4 years ago. The whole thing was just over and done with. So my teenage years, they were not guided by hormonal one-sided girlfriend. We were going alright, it was okay. Well, up until something. And then when entering relationships, that relationship ended, because she's a whore. And then when I went into a new relationship, which is like my first love, maybe the one that got up, no, probably not. No, she's an idiot as well. But when I entered that one, it was fully experienced. We didn't have that awkward bit at the start of a relationship in the honeymoon period when you don't know what you're going to do, because I knew exactly what to do, and she was older than me, because I think I was 18 and she was like 20, so she already knew everything to do with that anyway. So it helped a lot going into a new relationship, having prior experience of relationships, whereas everyone else was going into relationships at 17, 18 and not having a clue what to do and really worrying about it. And then finally when I got here, university life, Freshers Week, the amount of people that wanted to go and sleep around on Freshers Week, the amount of STIs that flew around on Freshers Week was disgusting. And yeah, I was lucky enough to bypass most of